Nicolas Cage once said that his snakeskin jacket symbolized his individuality and freedom, but the story of his life has been anything but simple. Long before the headlines about evictions, foreclosures, and vanished fortunes, he was Nicholas Kim Coppola, born on January 7, 1964, in Long Beach, California. He grew up surrounded by art, literature, and the powerful gravity of the Coppola filmmaking dynasty. His father taught literature, his mother danced, and his relatives were already shaping Hollywood. Yet his childhood changed dramatically when his parents divorced when he was 6. His mother struggled with bipolar disorder, and he spent much of his early life in San Francisco watching her drift through episodes he was too young to understand. Those experiences planted in him an empathy and emotional depth that he would later pour into his roles. Acting first became a refuge. He studied James Dean, practiced scenes alone, and performed skits for relatives at the Coppola family home in Napa Valley. At 9, he joined a small theater group and later attended Beverly Hills High School, where he felt like an outsider and eventually dropped out. He earned money by performing on the streets, chasing a dream that felt distant but necessary. At 15, after his mother was institutionalized, he moved to Los Angeles with his father, fell into the punk rock scene, dyed his hair like Elvis Presley, and explored method acting with an intensity that startled even his friends. He once slept in phone booths to understand homelessness for a character he imagined playing. Around 17, he landed a small part in his uncle Francis Ford Coppola's Rumble Fish, but hated being seen as someone getting roles through family. He changed his name to Nicolas Cage, inspired by avant-garde composer John Cage and comic book hero Luke Cage. He wanted to build a career on his own, even while wrestling with dyslexia that forced him to learn lines by listening instead of reading. His early career was filled with small roles, near misses, and fearless risks. At 18, he appeared briefly in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, then broke through at 19 in Valley Girl, where his improvisational fire helped turn a low-budget film into a hit. He pushed himself further in Rumble Fish, Racing with the Moon, and Birdie. During Birdie, he broke his jaw performing an intense scene, and the pain gave his performance a haunted realism directors loved. He took strange, risky roles, sometimes clashing with directors, but critics kept noticing his wild energy. By his mid-20s, he was no longer the quiet kid in the corner. He was a force audiences couldn't ignore. Moonstruck in 1987 made him unforgettable. His explosive delivery, emotional vulnerability, and theatrical edge created one of the most memorable performances of the decade. Then came Vampire's Kiss, in which he ate live cockroaches, stayed awake for days, and threw himself into a madness that later became cult legend. He kept taking risks, sometimes in films that struggled at the box office, but always with the same burning commitment. His ascent continued through the early 90s. He tackled intense emotional work in films like Leaving Las Vegas, for which he lost weight, drank real alcohol on camera, studied addiction, and delivered a performance so raw it earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor. Yet he balanced that dramatic depth with warmth in films like It Could Happen to You. Even when production stresses rose like during Kiss of Death, he pushed for authenticity, improvising dangerously convincing scenes. His life off-screen grew stranger as fame and money poured in. He bought rare items, exotic animals, and even a Tyrannosaurus skull that later turned out to be stolen and had to be returned. By the mid-90s and into the early 2000s, he became one of the world's biggest action stars. In The Rock, Con Air, and Face/Off, he performed grueling physical scenes, endured heat, dust storms, and technical challenges, and helped define a generation of action filmmaking. City of Angels and Gone in 60 Seconds showed his range, while behind the scenes his spending began to spiral. For years he earned more than $40 million annually. He bought more than a dozen mansions, castles, islands, and collections worth millions. The wealth seemed endless until it collapsed. In 2009, the IRS filed tax liens totaling about $14 million. His business manager was blamed for pushing reckless deals and failing to manage finances responsibly. Cage claimed he lost over $150 million under that management. One by one, the homes vanished. His $6.3 million Bel Air mansion was foreclosed on, burdened by loans reaching $18 million. 15 properties, once symbols of success, were swept away. He began selling prized collectibles, including his rare Action Comics #1 for over $2 million. Personal pressures deepened. His marriage to Alice Kim cracked under the strain. Rumors, lawsuits, and embarrassing headlines followed. Even arrests and bizarre purchases, like a $150,000 pet octopus, became material for tabloids. Yet through the chaos he kept working relentlessly. He filmed more than 40 movies in a decade, some critically dismissed, others quietly admired. Kick-Ass brought a jolt of renewed popularity. Drive Angry thrilled cult audiences. And despite financial trouble, he helped his son Weston through rehab and legal struggles, giving support even when it drew criticism. Then came a creative resurgence. Mandy in 2018 reintroduced him to the world as a cult hero. His brutal, emotional performance became an instant classic online. Pig in 2021 revealed a softer, introspective side and earned near universal praise as one of his finest performances in decades. The unbearable weight of massive talent let him play a fictional version of himself, blending humor with self-reflection. Renfield revived his chaotic brilliance as Dracula. More independent films showed audiences he could shift from outrageous to deeply human without losing authenticity. By 2025, Cage had appeared in more than 125 films. His net worth, once over $100 million before the collapse, slowly rebuilt to an estimated $25 to $40 million. He continued collecting rare books, nurturing creative obsessions, and taking roles that challenged him rather than chasing old blockbusters. Stories from his past, like tales of UFO sightings or his whirlwind marriages, from Patricia Arquette to Lisa Marie Presley to others, only added to the legendary status he carried. His life became a strange mixture of resilience, chaos, reinvention, and raw artistic passion. He rose, fell, and rose again, not by playing safe but by staying true to the individuality he once claimed his snakeskin jacket represented. Behind the bizarre purchases, the financial disasters, and the myth-making, he remained a performer moved by intensity and emotion, driven by a need to express something real. And despite every storm, he kept returning to the screen, proving again and again that he was never finished, not as an actor, not as a storyteller, and not as the singular figure Hollywood had never seen before and will never see again.